this is a Chinese saying. If you want to bring order to the country, you have to first bring order to the provinces. If you want to bring order to the provinces, you first have to bring order to the cities. If you want to bring order to the cities, you have to first bring order to the families. And if you want to bring order to the families, you first have to bring order to yourself. So this is what BodyTalk is about. You start with yourself. We can blame everyone in our environment, the whole environment, people making us fearful, stressed, worried, angry, whatever. But the question is, why is it happening? Why am I reacting and overreacting all the time? So all I have to do is focus on myself, try to be as centered and neutral and uninvolved as possible, focus on my potential, my natural healing powers, and then the environment will not have such a strong effect on me anymore. And actually through my centeredness I can have a balancing and healing effect on the environment. So something you can do for yourself, obviously, to bring order into your own life, into your own health and well-being, is to come for regular BodyTalk sessions. However, there's another tool, a very simple tool you can learn for yourself, and we BodyTalk practitioners feel it is as important as brushing your teeth. That is the so-called Cortices technique. The brain of the human being is a very complex structure, and scientists, neuroscientists, and people who study the brain from many different angles still say there's a lot more to learn. We already know a lot, and from a BodyTalk perspective, for us, it's important to have the brain very functional because it regulates the whole or all the processes in the body-mind complex. And the Cortices technique is geared towards balancing out the brain, the so-called left and right brain, to improve the communication within the brain, but this would also enable the communication between the brain and the rest of the body-mind complex. And very important is to understand that we have two main functions within our nervous system, the so-called autonomic nervous system. We have the so-called parasympathetic and sympathetic nerve supply. And a lot of people in our everyday life and environment, the sympathetic nerve supply of the whole body is a bit on overload, whereas the parasympathetic, cannot really balance out all of that. So the idea of doing BodyTalk sessions, but specifically the Cortices technique, is to support the reset of the nervous system and to improve both functions. To decrease a bit the function of the sympathetic nerve supply and increase maybe the function of the parasympathetic nerve supply, if that is the case in a person. The sympathetic activity is very important for our protection, our survival mechanisms, so we don't want to get rid of it, we just want to optimize the function. And the parasympathetic function is very important for our growth, our healing, and all these balancing factors and resting factors in life. The Cortices. The Cortices technique, as I said before, is the most important technique in BodyTalk. So I'm now going to show you how you can do it for yourself or even on friends and family members. And first I'm going to demonstrate how this would look on a skull. This is a plastic skull, and it helps us to understand what we're really doing. So if you imagine you would be contacting the head of a person. If you place your hand, that would be the little finger under the base of the skull, and cover the right and left side of the head. And then you keep going hand after hand until you reach the front of the skull. I have to turn around now, till you reach the eyebrows basically. Okay, and then when you touch the sides of the head, because that's a very important part as well, because it's about linking up the left and right sides, or balancing the left and right sides of the brain. When we do the Cortices technique, you can do it like this, or if you do it on yourself, the hands would be the other way around, but you see that later on when I do it on myself. And also the first hand position, is, as I said, it's important to contact under the skull. When I open here, you will see why, but if you do it on yourself, it would not be the little finger, it would actually be the thumb. So we have the taken off the top of the skull, and here you would see this wrinkly part, or walnut shape, they always say, part of the cortices, which is the outer layer. It's actually called the neocortex of the brain. It's the outer layer of the brain, and it's where our main thinking is happening in different parts. There's a whole map of the brain you could study. And the idea, so you can see it very nicely here, there's a division between the right and left side. So whenever we're doing the Cortices technique, we're actually bridging, okay? Even when we do the hand on the side. Now I'm going to show you the inside, so you have a basic understanding of how a brain would look from the inside. And so you can see the cortices is quite a thick layer, and then underneath we have all the other different brain parts. But a very important part is the so-called corpus callosum, which is actually linking very specifically the left and right hemispheres of the brain, and helping in a lot with communication and all of this. And brain function, obviously, specifically. So that's our main focus when we do the Cortices technique. And now I'm going to show you how to do this in a self-application way. The very last hand position now is on the sides of the head. Again, the focus is to bridge left and right side of the hemispheres. And to show you how it looks, the thumb is actually covering the tips of the ears. And your focus is again bridging left and right. Now one hand is starting the tapping procedure and alternating always with contacting the sides of the head, tapping the head, tapping the heart. And then the other hand is repeating the whole procedure. Again, overall, try to do this for 2 full breath cycles. And when I'm talking, it's not so easy to breathe. And that is basically it. And you can now try it for yourself. And thank you very much for watching.